Oh, good day everybody, this is Steve at Winterbourne Workshop. Today on the lathe I've got a piece of yew and I'm going to try an end grain bowl. So I've already marked up a reasonable sized circle. That could change slightly. I've got a few issues, which is why I'm making this the top of the bowl. So I've got a crack that runs along here but doesn't come out on the other side, another one there, another one there, but more importantly I've got a crack that runs all the way round this bit of heartwood. So that was where the tree first started growing. A few little cracks inside, but again that doesn't go all the way through, so I'm rather hoping that I can get rid of that when I scoop this out. So what I've done is already set it up and drilled out the middle with a Fosner bit, and that's going to go onto a chuck. Got a set of pin jaws, so let's get them out. Right, so we'll get this mounted up into this big old recess. Now I've done it deep enough so that the face will face right up to the face on the jaws. That will give it more stability. Cinch that up. Let's see how fast we can run it. Fairly unbalanced. So we've got to just over 400 before it starts wobbling. Right, so let's get some gauges sorted and do the business. Well, for those of you that are experienced wood turners, you'll have spotted my mistake. Of course, where that ring crack is actually going to be the bottom of the bowl. So I've done this before, set it all up wrong, always get me bottoms and tops mixed up. So I'm kind of hoping that this disappears pretty soon. But I can get a tenon on there in any way. But let's get it flattened up, start going up the sides a bit, and we'll see what it brings. We'll stop and have a quick look. So you really got to hang on to the handle on this sort of turning. I don't know if that bark is going to stay. Yew is usually pretty good. You lose some, you gain, you keep some, but it doesn't really matter too much because that all blends in. But yeah, it seems to be cutting okay. Bit of pull out there. I say it's going to be a bumpy old ride, and it's going to be a tough old turning, I think. But let's get some more of this bottom out, so I get to a point where I can actually get a tenon on there. Right, well, we're progressing into it, and because of my initial mistake of getting it upside down, which I'm really quite angry about, we've got another problem because there's a big void in here, which if I'd have got it the right way around wouldn't have been a problem because it sweeps out this way. But there it is, we've got to live with it, or I've got to live with it. So I'm going to have a fairly narrow bowl, narrow base that comes out, and accept the fact that I'm going to have a bit of a hole on one side, well, in fact two sides. I've got this knot in here that's going to disappear, and just at the back there, which you probably can't see. So let's concentrate on getting the sides up to where I want them. Because I've still got a good 2.5 inches of wood there, and yeah, off we go. Right, we'll stop and have a look. So I've still got a good 1.5 inches left there. This is actually quite dry, this bit of yew. I've had it for 3 years, sat outside under cover, the air blowing through it. So it's going to be an outflowing bowl, as you've probably already gathered. Really no idea. Well, I've got an idea of how it's going to end up, but I've got a few redesign challenges now since my ridiculous mistake. Alright, so let's see if we can get a bit more off the outside here. A big chunk came out there. Yeah, it did, right off the end there, look. Which is a nuisance, but is what it is. That's the trouble with end-grain Tenon. And I really don't want to go in from this side because obviously I'm going to lose bark on the extremities. So that will sand out. I'll make something of it. So it's not really an issue. Well, it is an issue, but nothing major in the big scheme of things. Right, off we go again. Right, I'm getting quite a bit of tear out just up the tops here, so what I think I'm going to do is going to try and attack it from here. 2 reasons: I can see this flying round better, I can see where I'm going in with the cut, and I just think I can do a smoother cut, but we'll see. Well, I managed to get it up to 670 now. Yeah, definitely cuts better coming in from there. I've got a little bit of end-grain tear out, but nothing I can't get sorted later. So I still need to come in a bit with this, make it sweep out, but I want to keep a reasonable sized bottom. The reason for that is because potentially this will move, and I might put tripod feet on, but I'll set it up on probably a 4-inch set of jaws, something like that. Let's have a look at these ones. No, they're probably too big for that. Go on, my Vic Mark step jaws. That's probably about right. So I know I've got a good inch. I can scoop away some from there. change the camera angle a bit, so if you can see what I'm doing a bit better. Right, so I'm battling that and that at the moment, trying to come around that curve. But that's kind of the curve I want. And I've still got quite a bit of meat up here, so I can afford to go higher here, which I think I will do. Tackle it from the end again. That seems to be the most effective. As I can see where I've got to go in with the gouge here. And a good way, if you're not confident, is to rub the back of the bevel and then the bowl until you come to the end of the wood, and then just go back in again. Try a pull cut. Keeping the wrist locked and just using your fingers to pull the gouge out. Nasty bit here, this little tool mark there, it's knocking. And that's where that void is. Right, let's have a look at that. So I've got tool marks, which is to be expected, I think, the amount of cavities I've got here, but that's looking okay now. I can live with that. That's not so okay, but I'm going to have to live with that. Get some of that loose bark out there, and insects and various things. But yeah, I think what I'm going to try and do now is go in with a scraper. Although, having said that, I've still got not so much. I've got 3/4 of an inch here, an inch here. So I think I'll leave it at that on the top, and I can clean up when I turn it round. So I need to get a tenon on there now. So I opted for the Vicmark step jaws. I guess was a and use a spindle gouge to get that where we want it. Get the rest up a bit and just get in there with a skew chisel. I've got a better one for that job, slightly smaller, and it's not got a radius on it. that. So as you can possibly see, I've got these little cracks in here and still got that ring crack, and we may have to go in there with a bit of Yoo-hoo just to fill it up. I don't think it's going to compromise the bowl at all. So the next thing I need to do is a little bit of sanding. I can sand probably up to here with the lathe spinning. The rest is going to be with it still, using a mechanical sander, an angle drill. So get the tool rest out of the way and get ready for sanding. Eliminate those tool marks at the top there, and then we'll flip it over. I'm probably not going to put a finish on it until I've finished it. Let it dry out a bit. Well, it's quite dry, a little bit damp in the middle, but like I say, I've had it 3 years from being cut down, so you expect it to be a little bit of moisture in there. Anyway, I'll bring you back in a bit. Right, all sanded, so we'll get it off the set of pin jaws and onto a larger set. If I do decide to keep that tenon as a foot, then the jaws fit perfectly on it, with about 1/2 mil to spare between each quarter of the jaw, so should be okay. So first thing I want to do is just give myself some idea of the size of bowl I want, or opening. Now I can go as big as that and give myself a wall all the way around, but I think the main bowl will be that size, but I'll actually slope it right down into that. I may even leave an emerging bowl in the middle, I don't know. I want it to slope so that matches the slope of the outside, so this may come down into that point. I mean, it's not going to be a bowl for cornflakes or porridge or anything, so I'll just have to see how it evolves. But yeah, let's get the middle out, or a lot of the middle, and see what happens. We'll try a different angle again, see if you can see better what's going on. It'd be better if I come from the inside out. So there's the extremities of our bowl as far as keeping it a bowl, but I actually think I'm now going to start coming in from further out here, bring the sides in a bit. If I don't like the look of it, I'll just stick a shoulder in here for the jaws to sit on, turn it round, and then slope this in a bit more. But I'm rather hoping I haven't got to do that, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so you get where I'm wanting to go with this, just sloping it in gradually. I have to say, for end grain Tenon, this is cutting quite nicely. And you turned end grain gives you some beautiful patterns. So, right, I think I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, and then I'll be back. Right, suitably refreshed. I'll carry on bringing that in slowly, and then see what we've got and dive into the bowl a bit deeper, so we can get a bit more support from the rest, which I can. So I'm going to come in from the end again, for the same reason that I can see what's going on much better here, just to try and flatten this off, because they're not the same levels. Stop and have another look. So for those of you uncomfortable doing end grain with a bowl gouge, you could use a carbide. I've got them, but I'd rather use a bowl gouge if I can. So still a bit stepped here, multifaceted. So I'll come in from the outside and try and round this up a little bit. But we're slowly getting in there, slowly making progress. So let's get the tool rest a bit closer. Make sure nothing hits. So I want this to be reasonably heavy on the bottom because everything's hanging out the side a bit. So I want it to stick to a table. So I think that's going to do me for depth. But before I go any further, what I'm going to do is take it off the chuck and get some glue into these cracks around here. Let that dry off, and then I'll be back. Right, so it's glued up. Tried to rub a bit of sawdust in there from the tenon itself. The good thing is that in some respects the glue has gone all the way through to the bottom, so hopefully that'll do its job. Not so much structurally, I don't think there's a problem with the structure, it's just to fill the cracks. So we'll go in the bottom with a bottom bowl scraper and try and tidy that up a bit. Put a fresh burr on this now. Big old lump, I don't know what size this is actually. Keep hold of the tape measure and measure it. 1.5 inches, and it's 3/8 thick. So that's quite a lumpy old thing. Not such a hefty one, but at the same time I don't really want the aggressiveness of that bottom bowl scraper. And we'll stop and have another look. Right, so that's cleaned it up nicely in the bottom there. So this is all going to have to be hand sanded. So no way I'm sticking my fingers in there, or an angle drill, because of that, and because of that it's just gonna be dangerous. So I'm going to hand sand it, and I'll do that off camera. I'm sure you don't want to see that. I say hand sand it, it's going to be static, and I'll use my angle drill. And there'll be lots and lots of that. Pretty good there, it's quite smooth to start with, so yeah, that's what I should be doing. Right, well, after about an hour and a half of sanding and lots of messing about, I think I'm just going to burn the very ends. Some bark is staying on, some bark has come off, some is a bit soft, so we'll get a flame onto it, and then whatever burns over the edges I'll just sand back again. This just helps tidy things up a bit. Although it looks a bit messy to start with. I'll just highlight, emphasise this edge. So what I'll do now is just go in and brush that off. For that I'm going to use a nylon brush on a drill, slow drill. Need a bit of extraction because it's going to be a bit dirty. I'll go in there with a bit of 180. What this does is gets rid of the loose stuff that was going to come off in anyway. Emphasise the high and low points. Finished up quite nicely. We need to get some oil onto it, so that's the next step. So what I'm going to put on here is some hard wax oil. Incidentally, I'm going to get rid of this foot. I don't like that at all, so that will come off at a later stage once it's completely dried out and stopped moving. So this stuff was made by Holtz and Hartz, German company. Get it from Simon Hope, and as is usual, his stuff, or the stuff that he sources, is pretty good, even though it's a little bit expensive. Chosen this because there's no way I'm going to stick my hands in there and try and buff it up with beeswax or burnish and wax or anything. So this, I'll just wait for it to soak in and then buff it by hand. So the troublesome ring crack in the middle there has actually not caused me any trouble at all, to be honest. Apart from getting a bit of sawdust and super glue in there just to fill the crack. I didn't think it was part of the integrity of the bowl. It didn't form the whole chuck and point, well, it formed a small part of it. So what I shall do is leave that for a few days, get some more wax oil into it, and leave it for probably a week, rechuck it, get the bottom off it, and yeah, quite pleased with that. Quite pleased. Hard work, dirty work, but I think it's turned out okay. Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget, give us a like, thumbs up, whatever it is, subscribe, and a share, that would be very nice. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.